early in my career, anytime I had a public speaking thing, I would just find a way around it. I would not do it. I would find some other path, right? It was crazy. I was crazy shy. It was so bad. And I remember I was working at DirecTV. I was in my early 30s, and I had launched a product for the company that was really important. And for whatever reason, the PR team decided that myself and our senior vice president, who is way senior to me, should be the ones talking to reporters together. And I was freaking out internally, but I realized at that moment that if I don't say yes, I am never going to get over this fear that I have. So I said yes, and it went great. And the PR team was like, we want you on stage at the next major sales event that we had. It was in Vegas, lights, huge stage, amazing, giant screens behind you. So I did it. I got on that stage and it was amazing.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Blueprint. I'm Courtney Cook, founder of Monarch COO, where I help mission-driven entrepreneurs grow their businesses. Each week, I sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs to explore the stories behind their successes and challenges. Whether you're just dreaming of starting a business or already building one, this podcast is here to show you that entrepreneurship is more attainable than it might seem, with insights for every stage of the journey. Let's dive in to today's conversation and see what it takes to build a business. Today on the podcast, I'm excited to welcome Vanessa Jupe. So Vanessa, will you just kick us off? What is your business? Who do you serve? And how long have you been a business owner?
Absolutely. So let me start by saying that if you weren't aware, postpartum support in the United States is amongst the worst for any developed nation. We actually have a lot of maternity deaths, and suicide rates are up 3 times what they used to be 10 years ago. So I'm just trying to paint the picture for you that we are a world in crisis and a nation in crisis. So what I do is I partner with businesses to support the new moms and dads in their companies to help really retain those valuable employees, giving them postpartum support, pregnancy support, life coaching with lactation consultants, career coaches, nutritionists, you name it. We have about 8 different specializations that we provide support through, and really helping them to retain the employees that they have, and make sure that the parents are getting support that is otherwise lacking in our system.
Yeah. Okay. What's the name, the brand name?
My company is called Leva. Leva. So it means to lift or to elevate. It's the root word of elevate. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's do you notice, I guess I'm sure you know this just in your research, what's the difference between the US versus other countries? Like, how behind are we? And is that kind of the problem that you're like, we have got to solve this?
Yeah, it's a great question. It is massively different. So I think if you look at the Scandinavian countries, they have really, really set the bar as far as what parental support should look like, both amongst men and women. So in most Scandinavian countries, both partners get tons of time off, and they really have it structured so that the partners can have some overlapping time, and then the mom gets a certain amount of months, maybe 6 months, and then the father or the non-birthing parent can have the other 6 months. And so it's really intentional for bonding. And a lot of what we've seen is that in places where the non-birthing partner, often the dad, gets to take parental leave and the mom gets to go back to work, her salary is not negatively affected. Her career growth is not negatively affected. She actually has a 7 percentage point increase in her annual earnings for every month that the father stays at home with the baby. So it really helps to, isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Yeah, it really helps to level the playing field. And I think obviously in the United States, we are the only developed nation that does not have paid parental leave at the federal level. So that in and of itself is a huge gap.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So how long has your company existed?
So I started Leva in 2021, really focused on like direct to consumer and supporting the moms directly. And then widened the aperture to support businesses on the advice of a couple of mentors that I was working with.
Yeah, I think that's so wise. So what was your own experience that got things started for you?
Well, I'll start by saying that I feel very fortunate that I was at a company, USAA, which is a large financial services company that supports the military and military families. I was there right when their paid parental leave went into place. So I ended up with a lot of paid leave. I think a lot in the United States terms, not in other places, but
yes, relative.
Right. And my husband worked there as well. So we were there at the same time.
Oh,
Both of us
cool.
got 12 weeks of paid leave that we could use up front or kind of take a little bit later in the year, depending on what we needed.
Nice.
And so that was fantastic. And so I thought, man, I have it made. I'm so well set. Both of us are well set. Both of us get time with our baby.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found was that when I got back to work, there was no support in place. So I
Mm.
was really struggling to get back on my feet in terms of getting my head back in the game and just being able to balance being a mom, being able to balance my schedule for pumping breaks because I was really desperately
Mm-hmm.
trying to breastfeed my baby. And that in and of itself was the biggest pain I have ever had in my life because I just felt like my milk supply wasn't working, my baby wasn't gaining weight. There was so much stress around that, and I spent so much time trying to navigate lactation issues while being an executive at a company. And I was taking these 3 breaks during the day to try to keep my
Mm-hmm.
milk supply up, and it was just so stressful.
So,
And
yeah.
and I was navigating it all on my own. I was like Googling constantly because this was before Chat GPT.
Yeah.
So
How
like,
do I fix this? Yeah.
how do I do that? Yeah, how do I fix this? Like, who are all the experts I can talk to? And I hired so many different experts to try to help troubleshoot this. And I was like, gosh, I can't believe that in this time it was 2017. In 2017, this is the state of how women and mothers are experiencing their postpartum period. It was just like so unacceptable to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really the catalyst. I felt like I really, really wanted to do something to make sure no other moms had to go through that experience and that they could have really expert guidance and support right out of the gate. And that, you know, fast forward to 2020 when COVID happened, like I had this idea for several years. I was like, I should do something. I should do something. But then COVID happened, and several of my friends all at the same time were getting pregnant, and I just kind of felt like, oh, the universe is giving me this moment to really try to lean in and do something to really help other people. So that's kind of the push I needed.
Yeah. Gosh, I identify with that so much. I had my first baby in 2018
Ah,
at a large company. So we had a mother's room, thankfully, which again, it's like, oh my gosh, the way things go under the radar when companies don't actually have a mother's room, but they're technically supposed to. I won't even get into that. But
yeah,
I had moms telling me while I was still pregnant before I had my baby and was on leave, they were like, book the mother's room now because it will be completely booked up when you show back up on the times when you need it. So, for your own, like, more than likely, it's going to be these 3 time slots, space them out evenly. And I'm like, I'm a new mom. I didn't realize even that I was going to be pumping so much, like I
right.
did not, there was still so much I didn't learn that you really learn as you go. That
Yes.
I am just, I, what I think you're doing is so amazing because of my own experience of like, I walked in there like, nothing else matters anymore. All of this
Oh my
stuff
God.
here is so like, it means nothing in comparison that I have brought this life into the world and now it's mine to just steward and do a really good job and I have to feed this baby and it's so stressful. I have to transport milk back and forth every day and have my ice packs, like all of it.
Oh my
But
gosh,
then
Courtney, thank you. Everything you just said there is like so powerful. And uh, the transporting of milk in and of itself is such a nightmare. Like
yes,
I never understood the whole like crying over spilt milk thing until I spilt breast milk,
I
and then I was like,
know.
oh yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But the one of the things that we do is we partner with the manager of the employee so that when the employee gets back to work, the manager has already like they have a whole onboarding toolkit. But one of the things they do is they block time proactively for the person
Yes. Oh,
so that that person
good.
just has the protected time so they know like
When they need
they don't
it.
have to think about it. They just get back
Mm-hmm.
and it's already there.
Yeah.
Because to your point, it's so stressful to have to deal with that. But I
Yeah.
also agree with you that now that you have this beautiful baby and this wonderful life, and you
Oh,
know
can
you're
you hear me?
responsible for keeping them alive and flourishing, you're going to take the time for yourself because you know it matters.
That would also show like how much the manager cares, which that just
Yes.
makes your experience coming back soon, like coming back also so important. Where I remember being in a meeting and somebody was just being so intense and hard on me. And I'm like, look, we are not doing brain surgery here. So what you're asking for, you can be kind and ask for this. I didn't say this, but I just, took it in stride. But I remember going to a good friend's cube after and just like breaking down because I'm like, why are we so intense about what we're doing right now? this is so minor in comparison to just life in general. So when you started really from just the direct to consumer piece of it,
Mm-hmm.
and you had this idea, what spurred you to, like, what was the very next thing that you did when you're like, this is what I need to bring to the world?
I started with research.
Okay.
So my background is in product development and product
Mm.
management, and we always try. We learned, right, as you build products, you have to do research to make sure that you're fitting the need.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're going to launch something people aren't going to use, which is never a good thing. So I ended up um, collecting as much information as I could from people that were in the early months of postpartum. What were they looking for? What were they desperately trying to answer? I went through my own search history and then compiled all of that into a pretty massive survey and fielded that survey with hundreds of moms to kind of
Nice.
collate the data around what was what was the most important thing that moms wanted to know, wanted to hear, what kind of support did they need, and what kind of voice did they want it, and just took that and started building, hired designers, hired IBCLCs, pediatric dentists, career coaches, and just started building, and meditation as well, because this is 2020. We were in the middle of COVID. It
Mm-hmm.
was like such a stressful time. Um, I wanted to create a content library that would be useful across, a mother's
Mm.
postpartum period. And I still heavily use all of that content today.
Yeah. Wow. And then what did just kind of that revenue stream look like? Like, how did you
Yeah.
start finding people that needed your service?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's interesting because I feel like I've learned so much along the way. And looking back, like even looking back, I'm like, gosh, that I wish I had doubled down on that sooner. So
Yes.
it's a
Yeah.
great question.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did first was the simple thing. I know how to build websites. I can launch a website. I can launch, services on a website, easy peasy. So I did that, and I started offering mindfulness meditations for a subscription, um, career coaching, and lactation support. And each one of them, had some varying level of success, but it was really the career coaching piece that took off
Mm-hmm.
the most, the quickest. And so it was really seeing that happening that I was like, this is going to work. It can
Mm-hmm.
make money. And it's clearly going to be something that working moms definitely need. So let's hone in on the working mom population instead of the
Yeah.
all the moms population.
Yep.
Because that was another thing I learned early on as I talked to so many different moms was that every mom needs the support, but not every mom can afford the support.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a struggle too, because you're like, I want to help everybody. But how do I do this in a way that's sustainable?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, very cool. So then when you decided to make the transition to really B2B,
Yeah.
what did you start doing to kind of knock on those doors and make that transition? And then today, what side of the business is the bigger part?
Oh, the B2B side is still the bigger part,
Cool.
but it's the side of the business I focused on for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been almost a sole focus for 2 years, which
Wow.
makes sense. It's a long cycle. It's a long sales
Oh,
cycle.
I bet.
I had
Yeah.
no idea. No kidding. I had no idea about the B2B world. Like I've only ever
Mm.
been in direct to consumer. I've always built things directly for an end user. And so that was a really steep learning curve.
Mm.
Um, what I did was I initially just start putting things together and sending things out to people. And we got our first sale within a few months. It was all through a referral. It was someone I knew. He introduced me to the HR department. They took the product in. It was great. A few months later, I had a guy I hired part-time to do outreach, and he got our next lead. And then I closed that sale. And I was like, oh, this is going to be pretty straightforward. This is going to be pretty easy.
Yeah.
But I still felt like I don't know what I don't know. So this is a mistake I made, but still learned a lot in the process. I hired a sales consulting team that cost me a lot of money and didn't make any sales, which was a bummer. It was a
No.
bummer. It was a bummer. And everyone after that, everyone's like, oh yeah, Vanessa, until you get to 1 million ARR, you really should do your own sales. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Uh,
But so I tried to go down the broker route, which in benefits, which my product is sold as a benefit.
okay.
In the benefit space, there are all these brokers and consultants that work with HR leaders to build out packages around healthcare and other supplemental benefits. So I started meeting with all these different brokers. I spent so much time because that's what our sales consultants told us to do. I spent so much time meeting with brokers over several months that never resulted in a conversation with a client, that never
Really?
resulted in a sale. I spent thousands of dollars on platforms to advertise Leva at 2 brokers that never resulted in a sale. And so after trying that for so many months, I said, okay, I'm going to going to stop this for now. I'm going to start
Mm-hmm.
looking at HR again, and then focusing on HR. I ended up making several more sales. But everything I've learned, as much as I want to drive the sales fast, they're, for the most part, not making a decision outside of the benefit buying cycle. Even though
Yeah.
they could bring us on anytime, they're going to make that decision in Q4, and
Mm,
Q4 is the hot
so
spot.
busy. Yeah.
So yeah, so it's been a whole entire process. It's been a learning journey, and I've definitely made a lot of mistakes along the way. But if anyone is in the benefit space, my recommendation would be just to make friends with your HR leaders, talk to the CFOs, know how to sell to those guys, and
Mm-hmm.
that's been the biggest success.
Yeah, I mean, I would have also thought like if you can get in with the brokers, wouldn't that be helpful? But
Yeah.
that is crazy. It also shows the power of relationships
Mm-hmm.
where you're building those relationships. You can do that one-on-one with the companies, whereas with the broker you can't.
Yes.
So,
Well, and
yeah.
I've had it where, I mean, there are many times that I've talked to HR leaders and they bring their broker in. And so then I'm demoing for the
Mm-hmm.
broker again. And so then it's okay. Well, great. Now we got our broker, the broker has blessed this. We can move forward. And
Mm-hmm.
we're already approved now. So I guess the good news that came out of that is that we're approved in several different brokers' systems as being a legitimate company with a solid offering.
Yep.
So now it makes the process easier to sell in through HR, but through HR has been the way that's worked for me.
Yeah. And to your point though, the sales cycle is so long because you get one shot a year.
Yeah. Yes.
And
Yes.
do you have like what's the general like size of brand that it makes sense for?
Yeah. So the smallest brand that I've worked with is 55 people.
Mm-hmm.
And the largest is close to 10,000. I don't think they're 10,000 yet,
Yeah.
um,
Nice.
but anywhere in there, the
Yeah.
average is around 1,000 people. The average is 1,000. It
Cool.
started out with our first client was 250, and then we had another 250, and then we had a 500, and then we had the 55, and then we jumped to the 10,000. So it's all over the place, I guess.
That's amazing. That's, I mean, I can see there's so many. I think it really can be, when I just think retrospectively about 250 to beyond,
Mhm.
it's such a great like feel good benefit to say we offer this
Yes,
support because it's unique. Like that's really unique.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I get so much joy. I'm still very much in the weeds with everything. And I get so much
Mm-hmm.
joy when I see the parents looking at specific articles or listening to a meditation. But the best feeling in the world is which I think all of that matters because you have the help, you have it on demand. But the best feeling is when I see them booking time with a consultant. And then I know they're getting that human care that is so important for
Mm-hmm.
people. Um, and I love talking to the consultants and asking them, like, what was the problem? How did it go? You know, do they need follow-ups? And just really starting to connect that because everything I do is behind a screen. So
Yeah.
just having a little bit of that like human connection and knowing that it is making a difference is like the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. Do you what does your team look like?
So I have 8 or 9 consultants. It changes all the time, just depending on people's availability, and they go on and off the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they're all in their specific areas of specialization. So they talk to
Mm.
clients directly, and then they also create content for me. So
Oh, cool.
articles and videos and that sort of thing. And then I have a very small development team in India that does all of the product development and a designer and a marketer, but all of them are contract. Everyone's a
Yep.
contractor
Nice.
at this point in time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what motivates you to keep going, especially on the really hard days or the low weeks? What keeps you motivated and excited?
It's really that knowing that we're helping somebody. And also my husband is the biggest cheerleader that I
Mm.
have. He has the most belief in me of anyone that I've ever met. He's like, I've seen you do hard things. You're so
Mm.
smart. You're so talented. Just keep going. So
Yeah.
I love that. And just knowing that that we're constantly able to help people and support people and make their lives better.
Yeah. That's so amazing. You need people close to you in your family to push you ahead, but also it's so easy to just be like, why did I sign up for this? What was I thinking?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh gosh, you're so right, Courtney. I mean, gosh, there have been so many days where I'm like, I am just going to lay down. I just need to take a nap. I can't do this right now. And I know tomorrow will be better. But you
yeah.
get through that, right? Because you're going to get in that lull. You're going to get in that real
Hmm.
big low point. But tomorrow you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, okay, I can do this again.
Yeah. For
Yeah,
sure. Sleep always helps. Sleep
it
does
does.
help.
It
Some days when
does.
I'm like really struggling, I'm like, I think I just need more sleep.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
No, I did not. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a rock star.
Oh my gosh.
So, right, it's like so silly. But no, I did not know that. I wanted to be um, behind the scenes. I was always a little bit shy growing up and a super perfectionist, like almost always straight A's in school.
Mm.
And I remember I was thinking about your question, and I was thinking about when I was in fifth grade, and a teacher loved an essay I wrote, and she wanted to read it to the whole class. And I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. I was like, I'm so glad you like it, but oh my gosh, I wish I could just hide. And
Yeah.
that followed me for so long. I just didn't want to put myself out there. I wanted to do the work.
Wow.
I wanted to be recognized for the work
Hmm.
privately.
Right.
Um, but I wanted to help other people. I wanted to help companies be successful and other people be successful, but I didn't want to be the face of anything. So I think
Hmm.
that entrepreneurship just never felt like a natural path. So that feels very ironic being like, oh, I
Yeah.
wanted to be a rock star and dancing and singing and music when I was a little kid. But then like my entire education and
Yeah.
early corporate career was like, oh gosh, I just want to be behind the scenes and just making stuff, you know?
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah. You either people, I mean, I could see that being like in fifth grade also, you're like, oh my gosh, I am like starting to hit this like preteen hormones, like I just want to
Yes.
be cool and loved and accepted. And like now
Yes.
you're opening up all these vulnerabilities to my whole class. So
Yeah.
how have you gone through that transition of like, okay, I am like to put yourself in like the sales role, you kind of have
Hmm.
to be this person that's like owning the room, and that
Yeah.
sounds like maybe not necessary, like you can probably own it, but isn't always the most natural thing. So how do you
Right.
like hype yourself up? How have you kind of gotten yourself to do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's been an evolution just like everything else. So let me tell you like a little bit of a journey. So I remember when I was when I was in school, when I was in college, even when I was in my early in my career, anytime I had a public speaking thing, I would just find a way around it. I would not do it. I would find some other path, right? It
Yeah.
was crazy. I was crazy shy. It was so bad. And I remember I was working at DirecTV. I was in my early 30s, and I had launched a product for the company that was really important. And for whatever reason, the PR team decided that myself and our senior vice president, who is way senior to me, should be the ones talking to reporters together. And I was freaking out internally, but I realized at that moment that if I don't say yes, I am never going to get over this fear that I have. So I said
Hmm.
yes, and it went great. And the PR team was like, we want you on stage at the next major sales event that we had, which was, I mean, the way DirecTV did things, I don't know if they still do, but it was in Vegas, lights, huge stage, amazing, giant screens behind you. It was like full stop,
Yeah.
incredible. So I did it. I got on that stage and it was amazing. And I was like, oh shoot, I can talk to reporters. I could be on a
Yeah.
stage. After that, I was like, I'm going to just do everything I can to be out there and speaking about the work. And at that time, it was comfortable because it was the work I was doing for the company. It
Yep.
wasn't me. So
Yeah.
the transition from that, I thought it would be easier to go from that to talking about Leva and talking about my business, but it was not because then it became
Really.
so personal. You
Yeah.
know, it was so
You're
personal.
right. You're obviously a natural rock star. I mean, to be able to like they obviously saw that in you. You didn't really have that much practice and they're like, "Oh, this is the girl for the job." So,
Yeah,
but it's so funny though. But yeah, once it becomes personal, that does
yeah.
change the perspective.
It does, and that's something I'm still struggling with. Here's one piece of advice I got that as soon as someone said it to me, I was like, oh my god, yes, you're right. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
I was sitting in this mentoring group in Kansas City with a ECJC, so they're Johnson County,
Hmm.
and my husband and two mentors and myself. We were all talking about the sales process and why I feel so uncomfortable with it. And my husband goes, "Oh, you used to feel that way about public speaking." And I said, "Yeah, I know, but sales is different." And this one of the guys in the mentoring group looked at me and he goes, "Vanessa, a year from now, you're going to do this. And a year from now, you're going to say, I can't believe I was scared of this. I'm so good at this now. I have so much practice doing this now." And I hadn't thought about it that way. I hadn't thought
Yeah.
I just need to change my mindset.
Hmm.
And I need to realize that I just need practice the same way I've needed practice for everything I've ever done.
Yeah.
And so the way I still feel like I have a long way to go, but I swear the way I approach sales now and the conversations is so much easier, and I'm so much more comfortable, and so much less like I felt like I was like groveling and nervous, like, oh, please buy my product. And now I'm like, this product is awesome. It's going to help you. Here are the reasons why it's going to help you.
Yeah.
So it's just different now.
Yeah, it's totally different. Reps are everything. Like getting in reps is so important. So important.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the goals for Leva in the next 12 months?
So in the next 12 months, one is really this positioning for businesses, like really focusing on honing the positioning, because our environment has changed, our political environment has changed, the amount of money businesses have to spend on benefits has changed. So it's really getting crystal clear on the ROI as the lead, and growing families as the lead, and less so on DEI, women, like that has to take a back seat now. So really changing the positioning to kind of fit the current environment on the B2B side. And then on the direct to consumer side, I'm so stoked because this is the part that I love. And so I'm leaning back into that more and really amplifying the career coaching aspect of it directly to the parents. And then we're launching a referral program that is really cool, that I think will truly incentivize a lot of positive behavior in terms of utilization, as well as recommendations of the product, because the person making the recommendations is going to get a ton of coaching hours in, back for any referral they make. So I'm really excited about that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what's been one decision early on that you look back now and you're like, I am really glad that I made that decision when I did?
Not sweating the small stuff. We talked about the perfectionistic tendencies, and I was so paranoid for so much of my life. Like I had to make everything perfect, and I wouldn't finish something until it was perfect. And that doesn't work as a business owner. It doesn't work, especially as a small business owner. And so I did not drive myself crazy with perfecting the branding or the fonts or the name. I have a friend who's very talented at that stuff. I asked him for help. He created assets. I tested the assets in a research platform, and then I went with it. And it's what I've used ever since. And I think it still looks great.
Honestly, your website, I was going to tell you this just like even after, it's so professional and shows up in such a great way. Like
Thank you.
Taking notes. It's awesome, especially from a B2B standpoint. Like
thank you.
The fact that you didn't start B2B, and you've transitioned it that way. And if it's the original like branding work, he's a rock star.
He's a rock star. He's such a great designer and a great human being. So yeah, amazing. It's good. You can't do it all yourself either, right?
No, so you can't.
That is not my strength.
Right. I just hired somebody to help me with social media, and it has been,
good.
We're a month in, and it's been one of the best investments ever.
Wonderful.
I'm like, I can actually focus on the things I need to be focusing on, not how to create content, which scares the living, out of me.
Yeah. So. Well, it's the putting yourself out there thing. It's hard.
It is. And I'm like, I do it enough with the podcast, but, and maybe I'll start doing solo episodes soon, but
yeah,
it's hard. We should have other people do the things that we shouldn't be spending our time on. But
right.
So tell me, just a little fun question for you. What are you loving, learning, and letting go of right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the loving, oh gosh, where do I have that? Here we go. Okay. So what I'm loving in my life, and this goes back to not being tied to my corporate career, right? Being able to choose how I spend my time. I'm loving that. I'm loving being able to go into nature with my family and hike and travel. Like we spent 2 months going park to park in the national parks.
Cool.
Yep. And just being able to be really intentional about my time, and then having meaningful conversations with my husband and my kiddo and my cousins and just people that I love. So that has been amazing. Learning. So in addition to Leva, I have a podcast that I'm building out called 101 Ways Out, which is how I met you. And being able to meet people like you and talk to them about the paths they're on, the journeys they're taking, what mindset they've cultivated to kind of give them the courage to follow their own different, unique path has been so amazing. And so I'm very thankful for that. And then letting go of, it's really just being critical of myself, worrying about what other people think. That's a constant lifelong journey. But I think being authentic and leaning into that has been super liberating. So I'm just letting go of the
Mhm.
expectations of others, knowing I'm never going to please everyone. I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea,
Yeah.
but I will be for certain people. And that's
Yep.
what matters.
Exactly. Yep. That's a great perspective. So if people want to reach out to you, Vanessa, to connect with you directly or just to learn more about Leva and maybe what it can offer their business, how can they reach out?
Absolutely. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Vanessa Jupe. You can also go to www.levaapp.com, LevaApp.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sitting with me this morning. I really appreciate it. And I'm cheering you on. And I
Thank
like
you.
genuinely really want to help spread the word about Leva and what you're offering because I needed this service, especially as a first time mom. I had the
Yeah.
luxury of baby number two being at home, and I never had to pump because he
Ah,
was home with me. And what I would have dreamt, like, just it's such a steep learning curve, and the service you're providing is probably I will always look back on my experience with having my first of like, those were some really hard days, really hard days. So, what you're doing is amazing. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful.
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Entrepreneur's Blueprint. I hope you found inspiration and insights to fuel your entrepreneurial journey. If you're looking for support in building or scaling your business profitably, visit my website or send me an email to learn more about how I help mission-driven businesses become more profitable, proactive, and efficient. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It really helps other entrepreneurs discover the show, and it would mean so much to me as well. Until next time, keep building, keep dreaming, and keep going.